Here's a wild thought. What if the Brooklyn Nets finally figured it all out, right after it stopped mattering? That might be exactly what's happening with Cam Thomas, one of the NBA's most electric scorers and one of the most debated names in restricted free agency this summer. For 3 seasons, the Nets had this walking bucket in their lineup, someone who could drop 40 out of nowhere, but they never quite gave him the right roster around him. Now, after a bold and exciting offseason where the Nets went all in on young, versatile talent, they may have finally created the perfect environment for Thomas to thrive. Only problem? It may have come 1 season too late. The question isn't just whether the Nets built a solid future, it's whether that future still includes Cam Thomas and whether both sides even want to make it work anymore. From a team-building perspective, the Nets have made some really smart decisions this offseason. They went young. They went athletic. They added complementary skills across the board. They didn't go star hunting or chase aging vets. This was a future-focused draft class that actually fits together. And that's what makes this situation so bittersweet. Because while the team finally seems to have found a direction, it might have cost them the one player who was scoring through the chaos all along. It's like finding the missing piece of a puzzle, only to realize you left the box on a bus 6 months ago. That's where things stand with Cam Thomas. So what happens next? The Nets could still match any offer sheet Thomas signs. They could agree to a sign-and-trade, or they could lock him in with a deal that satisfies both sides. But the window is closing fast. The rest of the league is watching. And if the Nets hesitate, someone else will gladly give Thomas the role and contract he's looking for. And if that happens, fans might look back on the 2025 offseason as the one where the Nets had it all lined up. Young talent, cap space, a clear direction, and still lost one of their best players anyway. That's not just bad luck. That's bad timing. Of course, there's still hope. Maybe the front office sees what they've built and realizes Cam is the perfect scoring engine to power it. Maybe Thomas, after testing the market, comes back knowing this is where he can shine brightest. That's the best-case scenario. A reset. A chance for both sides to admit that the fit does make sense now, even if it didn't before. But that takes communication, honesty, and a willingness to see beyond past frustrations. Thomas has always. Cam Thomas is a fascinating case study in today's NBA. He's not a traditional point guard. He's not your ideal pass-first floor general. He's a straight-up scorer, and he knows it. We're talking about a guy who dropped 46 points against the Clippers last season and had multiple 40-plus point games coming off the bench. His shot creation is elite. His confidence is off the charts. But for most of his career in Brooklyn, the team didn't really seem to know what to do with him. He'd go from DNPs to dropping 40 in back-to-back games. Coaches changed, roles changed, stars came and went. But Thomas kept proving he could put the ball in the bucket, and yet the narrative around him has stayed the same. He's too one-dimensional. But is that fair, or is it just a reflection of a team that wasn't built to support what he does best? Flash forward to the 2025 NBA offseason, and suddenly, Brooklyn looks like a whole new team. In the draft, they grabbed high-upside prospects like Igor Demon, Nolan Traore, Ben Seraph, Drake Powell, and Danny Wolf. That's 5 rookies, all with different skill sets, all with high basketball IQ, and most importantly, all willing to play off the ball and defend. That's the kind of environment where a pure scorer like Cam Thomas could absolutely thrive. No more overlapping skill sets. No more everyone needs the ball lineups. For the first time, it feels like the Nets have surrounded Thomas with players who can fill the gaps in his game. They've added length, defensive switchability, and unselfish passing. The irony? Thomas may no longer be part of the team's long-term plans, and he knows it. That brings us to the heart of the issue: restricted free agency. Cam Thomas believes he should be paid like Tyler Hero, upwards of $25 million per year. And honestly, The numbers don't make that sound unreasonable. Thomas averaged over 20 points per game last season, while shooting close to 37% from deep. But scoring alone doesn't always guarantee a big payday in today's NBA. Teams want versatility. They want defense. They want a clear fit within a system. And that's where things get tricky. The Nets don't want to overpay for a one-dimensional scorer, even a really good one. But here's the thing. By finally building the kind of roster that plays to his strengths, they may have made the best argument for keeping him, whether they meant to or not. Look at the guys Brooklyn just drafted. Igor Demon is a tall playmaker with elite vision and size. He's not looking to score 20 a night. He wants to run the show, set guys up, and defend multiple positions. Perfect partner for a bucket getter like Thomas. Nolan Traore brings athleticism and defensive potential on the perimeter. Ben Saraf is a sniper who can space the floor. Danny Wolf adds passing and shooting from the front court. And Drake Powell brings wing defense and hustle. This is a young, modern lineup that plays the right way. And that's exactly the kind of environment where Thomas can be the focal point on offense without needing to carry every other load. The structure finally makes sense, just when it might be falling apart contractually. There's also the question of identity. For the last few seasons, the Nets have been stuck between timelines. First, they went all in on a super team with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. That exploded fast. Then they tried a retooling around Mikal Bridges and Nick Claxton. That didn't really move the needle. Now, they've leaned fully into the rebuild. This new crop of players is young, unselfish, and high IQ. Cam Thomas fits the age timeline, sure, but does he fit the style? Some might argue that a young team focused on development needs a high-usage scorer to draw attention and create spacing. Others believe that Thomas doesn't fit the culture they're trying to build. Either way, it's clear the Nets have reached a philosophical fork in the road, and Cam Thomas is standing right in the middle of it. There's also the question of identity. For the last few seasons, the Nets have been stuck between timelines. First, they went all in on a super team with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. That exploded fast. Then they tried a retooling around Mikal Bridges and Nick Claxton. That didn't really move the needle. Now, they've leaned fully into the rebuild. This new crop of players is young, unselfish, and high IQ. Cam Thomas fits the age timeline, sure, but does he fit the style? Some might argue that a young team focused on development needs a high-usage scorer to draw attention and create spacing. Others believe that Thomas doesn't fit the culture they're trying to build. Either way, it's clear the Nets have reached a philosophical fork in the road, and Cam Thomas is standing right in the middle of it. There's also the fan factor. Nets fans are divided on Thomas. Some love him. Some think he's just another inefficient volume scorer. But nobody can deny how exciting he is. And in a league that thrives on highlight reels and social media buzz, that counts for something. Thomas can take over a quarter. He can score in bunches. He brings energy to a team that, let's be honest, hasn't been all that exciting since the KD-Kyrie era ended. If the Nets let him walk, or worse, if they lowball him and he signs elsewhere, it's very possible that they'll spend the next few years watching him become a breakout star on another team. That's a tough pill to swallow when you realize you had the right ingredients, just a season too late. Let's not ignore Thomas's own development either. His defense is still a work in progress, sure, but he's shown signs of improvement. He's stronger now, more focused, and he's learning how to make better decisions with the ball. That growth has largely flown under the radar because the Nets haven't made him a consistent part of the long-term rotation. But ask yourself this, if Thomas had been given a defined role 2 years ago, how much further along would he be right now? The Nets might have had their franchise scorer fully developed already. Instead, they're facing a decision that could come back to haunt them if they let him walk right as he's leveling up.